Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This is Michael. Today we're going to be talking about a book that I just finished that I gave 5 stars that I really enjoyed. It's called All the Living and the Dead by Hayley Campbell. This book is an exploration of the different fields of work tied to death. It is very in-depth, very touching, a little hard to read on some parts, but very good. So let's get into it.
Fueled by a childhood fascination with death, journalist Hayley Campbell searches for answers in the people who make a living by working with the dead. Along the way, she encounters mass fatality investigators, embalmers, and a former executioner who is responsible for ending 62 lives. She meets gravediggers who have already dug their own graves, visits a cryonics facility in Michigan, goes for late-night Chinese with a homicide detective, and questions a man whose job it is to make crime scenes disappear.
So yes, as that synopsis presents, this book is very, very in-depth, talking to all the different types of work and jobs that people do with dead bodies. It's ranging from the executioners, it's midwives dealing with child death, it is talking to gravediggers, it is talking to crime scene or accident people that deal with that and clean that up, crime scene cleaning crews, mortuary directors, everybody. So anything you can think of is in this book. I thoroughly loved this book. Well, let me go back to the beginning. So for the last few years, well, I guess more than the last few years, but really hit home the last few years, is that death is inescapable. About 5 years ago, I had a pretty rough year where I had my father-in-law passed away, my first dog passed away after 13 years, a co-worker from work passed away, a really good friend, and then my best friend ended up in a coma and nearly died. And this is all over the course of 1 year, and I was pretty much just, I feel like I was kind of let loose from reality for a while. And it really did hit home that, nothing is for sure outside of being dead. So this book, I'm going to give it the highest praise. The author, Hayley Campbell, she actually goes and does the jobs that people are doing in these works. So she actually goes and does an autopsy. She actually goes and works with gravediggers. She actually goes and goes to the Mayo Clinic and deals with cadaver labs where they're studying humans and people that have donated their bodies to science. She actually takes part in all this. And I give her a lot of credit. She pretty much carries a lot of the emotional weight on her shoulders so that we can experience it. And I do appreciate that a lot, and I loved that. It's just, it's overall just really, really, really well written, and the people do give a very honest snapshot of what it's like in these positions. So the one takeaway she takes from this book is she says that the first dead body you see should not be somebody that you love. And I do agree with that. The first dead body I saw was not someone I loved. So it was a little bit easier as far as processing what I was looking at when I did see these people that had passed on. So yeah, my first experience with seeing a dead body was actually at a university cadaver lab. This is going back 20 plus years ago. I was in a punk psychobilly band called the Martian Grave Robbers, and 2 members of that band were at university to be athletic therapists. So they were like, well, Mike, you should sneak into this cadaver lab with us. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I donned my Martian Grave Robber t-shirt. Singer for my band had his Cannibal Corpse t-shirt on. and they snuck me into this lab. So I saw dead bodies that were getting pretty much inspected, had all their organs removed and looking at things. There was a couple teachers there. They were showing an arm with all the tendons still attached, but everything else was gone, and they were showing how the muscles moved, the fingers. There was a jar with a just marked face on it, which was a little traumatizing to see. And then there was the bodies that a few students were working with, so I sort of observed them going through that. But yeah, that was sort of my first touch of seeing dead bodies, and if you don't get a chance to do something like that, then read this book. This one really does take you into those worlds and shows you things that you might not necessarily be comfortable seeing in your normal day-to-day life. I know, a lot of you people here are fiction readers, so you're reading about death in a fictional setting. This is death in the real setting, so it's a little bit a different kind of feel for it. I do give one warning about one section of this book, and that is the autopsy section. They do deal with a dead child, and the stuff that Hayley goes through while observing that is very traumatic, and I felt it as I was reading it, the same trauma. I was crying in bed reading this. It is quite heavy. It's quite heavy stuff. So yeah, overall this book, the heavy subject of dealing with death, but the number one feeling of this book is love. Everyone who's doing these jobs, everyone who is dressing dead bodies for funerals, dealing with cremation, even the executioners, it's all from a place of love. There is maybe misguided. I myself don't believe in the death penalty. The executioner they interview, he talks about how you're pretty much a warden on death row. You're protecting these people, and then you're forced to then execute them. So it's pretty heavy stuff. But again, I do recommend this book if you get a chance to read it. This is not it's not fiction. So again, this is real life stories of real death. There is some gruesome stuff in it. It's not presented in any sort of exploitive way. It is very, very matter-of-factly, and the reactions that you get from that are going to be genuine because of that. So yeah, it's not a book for everybody, but yeah, if you are interested in sort of the aspects of what happens after you die, this book can sort of shed some light into that, about what could happen to your body. So yeah, I do appreciate that a lot, and I gave this 5 stars. I do recommend reading it. Okay, so that is it for the day. Thank you very much for watching. And again, I recommend All the Living and the Dead by Hayley Campbell. I think there's a paperback now out of this, so you can get it pretty cheap for $20 probably. But yeah, beautiful book, beautiful artwork as well. I do really appreciate that. And again, thank you to Hayley Campbell for writing this. Very well done.